PSG, you have saved football. PSG have saved football. Champions of Europe, you'll never sing that, you'll never sing that. And you know what's funny, guys? That's me. I've touched more Champions Leagues than Arsenal Football Club. There we are. I don't think you can see that. Alice, Saliba, Gabriel. Don't make you jealous, but that's me touching the Champions League last year. We got to talk about this Champions League final, people. Your girl was doing this video at nearly 2 a.m. because I might have enjoyed the PSG win. I might have been out to watch the game and enjoyed that hate watch. I haven't had a successful hate watch in a while when it's come to Arsenal because they have won the league. Do you know what? Wasn't the greatest game in the world, but a successful result. But you know what? I actually think you've got to give credit to Arsenal in some areas. I think you've got to give credit to PSG in some areas. The biggest thing you can say to Arsenal is PSG battered Inter in the final. Arsenal did not embarrass themselves. Arsenal took the best team in the world to a penalty shootout. As much as we like to banter Arsenal, laugh at Arsenal, this, that, la, 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 they took the best team in the world to a penalty shootout. You know, yes, Arteta ball was, and you look at this, and the threat from PSG compared to Arsenal, yeah. I mean, look, the football Arsenal played wasn't the most attractive football in the world. But to be honest, when you go 1-0 up against PSG, you're probably going to park the bus when you know your strength is in defending and PSG have a lethal attack. Do I think Arsenal should have pushed to go 2-0 up when they were 1-0 up? Yeah. I think it would have given them that cushion that they wanted. And look, if you look at these statistics here, I do think, you know, Arsenal could have been a little bit more aggressive, particularly towards the end of the match. And I think that's let them down. Maybe they're quite defensive approach, but I also understand why they're playing it safe. If Arsenal had played really aggressive, conceded a counter-attacking chance, then they could have conceded anyway. And I think there was this one time where Arsenal took a risk and Barcola actually had an opportunity to score. And luckily for Arsenal, Barcola had 2 opportunities to win the game for PSG, and it went all the way to penalties because of Barcola's misses. But as much as we can laugh at Arsenal and all that, they've won the Premier League. They did make it to a final. And look, I'm going to share this. They didn't embarrass themselves. It tells us a lot about Arsenal. They've beaten Bayern Munich in the group stage. They got to a final, and they only lost the final on penalties. The fact that it went to penalties, the fact that it was this close, the so-called best team in the world in PSG, it tells us a lot about Arsenal. It tells us that this Arsenal team is capable of winning a Champions League. Not this season, obviously, but maybe next season. This Arsenal team defended well. I know everyone likes to shit on the way they play. And look, honestly, it was one of the most boring Champions League finals I've watched since Liverpool-Tottenham, you know? And people are crying about refereeing decisions and that, but I think the referee did a fine job today, actually. You know, people argue Madueke should have got a penalty, but then Saka did handball it, so I think it evens out there. But Arsenal took PSG to penalties. They went 1-0 up, and PSG looked crap for moments of that game. Like, Arsenal made this PSG side look a little bit toothless in attack. They ran out of ideas in attack. Arsenal defended so well. I thought Gabriel was immense. I know he missed the penalty. I thought Hincapie played really well. But you know who I thought was immense? Miles Lewis-Skelly. Miles Lewis-Skelly really impressed me. Really, really impressed me. Probably more than like anyone else for Arsenal. I think because he was so young, the way he was driving the ball forward. Look, there was players that I think didn't step up. Odegaard, was he even on the pitch? Gyökeres scored his penalty, but it was a shambles cameo. Saka didn't have his best game. To be fair, Saka and Trossard's work was just defensive. Arsenal went 1-0 up within about 7 minutes, and they were just told to park the bus and defence, to be fair to them. But I give it to Arsenal. It tells us a lot about them. Like, they did take PSG to a penalty shootout. They missed out due to a missed penalty. You know, it was a close competition between them. Inter Milan got embarrassed. Arsenal didn't. So yes, you didn't win the Champions League, but you won the Premier League. You got one of the trophies over the line, and you show that next season you can be a threat. And look, people are talking about should Madueke have won a penalty. For me, it wasn't clear and obvious. The fact that I had to watch it 6-7 times and think, is that a penalty or not? It's not clear and obvious. I think with the Saka handball, it evens out. Sometimes the Madueke incident would be given as a penalty. Sometimes the Saka handball would be given as a penalty. It evens out. Did Arsenal win a lot of the 50-50s with the ref? Probably not. But you could argue Trossard handballed it, but I think that was the correct decision. The ball was kicked at Trossard's arm. I think if they ruled out the Havertz goal for a Trossard handball, I think that would be unfair. I think the goal stood, and I don't think Mascara should have got a yellow card. I think second yellow, because I think Mascara's first yellow was harsh, so people argue he should have got a second yellow. I don't think he should have got a second yellow. I think the first yellow was harsh. I think he could have got a second yellow, with Simak been given, and Trossard I think was the correct decision. So I think the decision on Trossard and Mascara were the correct decision. I think the Saka and Madueke decisions were probably the correct decisions. I actually think the big decisions were fine. They sort of evened out. My biggest criticism of Arsenal is I think PSG were there for the taking. There was a period in the game, the last sort of 30, 20 minutes, where there was no Vitinha, no Dembele, no Kvaratskhelia, Barcola can't hit a barn door. I did sometimes sit there and think, why didn't you go at them, Arsenal? I think Arsenal should have gone at PSG more and tried to make it 2-0. I really think they should have. I think Arsenal going 1-0 up was the best thing for them. But going 1-0 up that early, maybe not. I think if Arsenal had gone 1-0 up in like the 60th minute, they could have done it. But then, because then you have to park the bus for half an hour. But I think when you park the bus for 80 odd minutes, it's difficult. And look, I saw people giving Mascara crap because he gave away the penalty. But Mascara had a fantastic game. He was under so much pressure. And there was bound to be an Arsenal mistake in there, because the Arsenal defence, Mascara, Gabriel, Saliba, and Nkapia had so much to do. They were under so much pressure. They're defending most of the game, because PSG had so much possession and they defended really well, that I think there was bound to be a period where someone slipped up. And I think if you're giving Mascara hate, you're silly, because that's the one time he lost out. He won all of the duels against Kvaratskhelia, who didn't have a great game. So I think if you're giving him crap, you miss out. These were the underlying numbers in the 90 minutes. PSG had 3 big chances to Arsenal's 1, the higher XG, the more threat, 18 shots to Arsenal's 4, 75% possession. PSG deserved to win. Arsenal went 1-0 up and they parked the bus. Arsenal made it difficult for PSG. Arsenal made it hard, and Arsenal almost won the Arsenal way. PSG, I don't think were at their best, and I think they really struggled at times versus Arsenal. But PSG probably deserved to win in the end. But I have to give credit to Miles Lewis-Skelly. I thought he was absolutely phenomenal. Odegaard, don't even remember him on the pitch. Dembele, gets his goal in the final, scores his penalty, does his job, and PSG won because they put the penalties in. PSG didn't score an open play goal against you in 120 minutes of football. And the only penalty you've conceded all season, I mean, you probably should have conceded 1 or 2 in the Prem, was in the UCL final. But no one scored an open play goal against you. And look, Dembele's just clutch in those big games. And look, I think what Arsenal fans have got to remember is PSG were the favourites. They've won it before. They were the favourites. They are the better team. I think Arsenal, the fact they got so far and lost on penalties is hard, but you didn't embarrass yourselves. I think some Arsenal players could have played better. I think some Arsenal players played incredibly well. But what this game really tells us, and I am a few drinks in, I can't lie, but what this game really tells us is Arsenal can do it. They can go toe-to-toe with PSG. Even if we don't like the way that Arsenal play, they made it difficult for PSG. That's the worst I've seen PSG's attack in ages. So, look, fair play to Arsenal for making the final. I'm glad you lost for the sake of my sanity, because I can sing Champions of Europe. You'll never sing that. I could deal with you winning the Premier League, but to win the Champions League in the same season would just be too much. Yep, thank you PSG for saving football. Suddenly I like football again. And look, it's the World Cup now, people. Let me know your thoughts down below. Bye.